did this project on charter schools as a risk of segregation. The reason I chose it is because, for one, it's always been something always that I've always questioned myself about, as far as, why do we only have black and brown kids that go to these type of schools? Why don't we have a diverse, population? So I looked up some quick facts, and I just wanted to just share them with you. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll do my best to answer them as best I can. So I titled it "Charter Schools Risk of Segregation." So one thing that I found out, biggest issue that as far as being school related with this, is that studies in a number of different states and school districts in the U.S. show that charter schools are often led to increased school segregation. So that means that most of your black and brown kids are in the lower income areas, which is where your charter schools are at, and then you have your Caucasian or white kids that are in like your Montessori or your private schools. So I tried to figure out why that is, and I really wanted to know why, especially in the DC area. We have 8 wards, and we have so many kids that go to different schools. Like we have KIPP, we have here Friendship Public Charter Schools, E.L. Haynes, those type of schools like that. And I just want to know, why aren't all of these schools diverse, and we still have public schools here in DC? So some quick facts that I found out as far as charter school students in DC: they make up 46% of the student body. So that's counting your public schools, your charter schools all over each ward, especially your KIPP schools and your Friendship schools, whatever charter schools that there are. As we all know, 90% of the students are black and Latino. So it's a very small percentage of any other racial families that may be in that area, and you have most of your kids that go to these schools are black or Latino. So the question raises, like, where are most of these schools at? But as we all know, they're always in the lower income areas. And we also see that over 80% of the students are, as I said before, low income. So if you're looking at like Ward 7 and 8, those are your main spots as far as like where your charter schools are at, even though they're starting now to go to areas that are more regentrified. So why is this happening? So shows that DC's embrace of school choices, they began back in the 1990s. So that showed that a lot of parents started to have a choice of where they could enroll their students. So it could either be in your private school or Montessori schools, or if you wanted to take them to a charter school, just based on your preference and where you feel they would be more comfortable at. But in Washington, D.C., private schools are your stereotypical prolific in white, wealthier areas, your more affluent areas. So you could say pretty much it's starting to come in here in the northwest area, the Shaw area, or like in the Woodley area, over close to like Chevy Chase, places like that, where most of your Catholic schools are. But then when you come to your lower income areas, that's where you have your black and brown babies, where they're in the poor neighborhoods, supposedly in the poor neighborhoods. So I looked up some information. I had a little help with this though, also, because I wasn't quite sure like what the actual percentages were. Now, as you can see, with the DC Public Charter Schools, this is a demographic back in 2018 to 2019, so it's pretty relevant. Your biggest percentage comes from your black and African Americans, as far as with public charter schools. Now, another big percentage you see right here is your economically disadvantaged. So these are your families that are in lower income areas, are either on public assistance or they're having some type of help in some sort of fashion. And then you have your at risk, which follows right beside that, is dealing with kids that are in dangerous environments. Families are not either together or they're having issues where the child doesn't feel safe. And then you have your Hispanic and Latino families, which are your smallest percentage, because even though the charter schools are here, you don't see a lot of them. You don't see a lot of that racial family in these type of schools. They're usually in the type of schools of their own, as far as their ethnicity. But then as far as when you see like with your special education or with your English language children, they pretty much they fall in these certain categories because you know, with your children, special education children, they are, you know, coming to these type of schools, your charter schools. The only one that differentiates between all of that is your Caucasian kids, because they're normally in your private schools in your Montessori. So you think about where they come from as far as when they start off pre-K or kindergarten, they stay for like maybe a year or so, and they're moving to another private school or Montessori school where the family feels more comfortable with them being there. So here's another graph I looked at, or another map. Now this one is based on income. As you can see, let me know if you can't see it. I'll tell you what it is. So in the lighter area, as you can see, like wards 8, ward 7, little 5, 2, and 6, it's showing that these are incomes that are ranging between 0 to a little over 71,000. So this is a little bit of your lower income families that are, you know, they're doing the best they can as far as making it here in the district. Now you have your little darker blue, whereas families that range between 71,000 up to 147,000. So that would be like your middle class families. And then you have your your well-to-do families, your more affluent families, which are ranging between 147,000 and above. So those are your families that are pretty much going to your private schools or your Montessori schools. And as you can see, the yellow is showing where most of your charter schools are going to be at. Now, up here it shows a little bit of where they're spread out, but the biggest chunk of them or the smallest chunk of them in these two areas are where you would have like your KIPS, or if you have, you know, we have the high schools and, for Friendship. Now on this side it differentiates with the minority. So low minority, there's not that many Black and Latino families in these areas, which would be Ward 3, 2, and 8. Those are where you would have your more affluent families that are ranging in that 147. Now the biggest chunk that, from what I could see, and I could be wrong, but the high minority is Ward 7 and Ward 8. So these are where mostly, as you can see, your charter schools are gonna be sitting. And that's basically to show that they're trying to be there for those kids education-wise, as far as being in a safer place, being in a place of learning, and also just being like a role model to each other. But in a way, it's like, why are they like that? Why can't we be more diverse? Why can't we work together to make sure that all these kids have the same type of advantages? So there are some opportunities for diversity, and just a few of them that I looked at, or just a couple. Two of these right now can coincide with each other. So if you promote intercultural and cross-racial understanding, that'll help reduce the stereotyping, saying that people that live in lower income families can't afford to go to these private schools or go to these public, these Montessori schools or public schools. And that'll also increase the students' ability to communicate better with other students from different backgrounds and different areas, which will help the diversity, which will help also the families feel more at home or more safe to bring their kids to charter schools that may be in the lower income wards, or even the ones that are in the lower income wards, they can come to the ones that are in the private or Montessori, so that way everybody's together and everybody's learning. And then the final one would be to create equitable access to resources, like more highly qualified teachers, which will help with the teacher shortage. That would also help with hopefully lesser kids being in the classrooms, which would create more, I would say, more homely environment for learning. And we always want to make sure that we have more challenging curriculum, which will help the kids want to learn more and build their skills socially, emotionally, and intellectually. And with that could help with the private and public funding, which would help make more money for these charter schools, especially with schools that may be struggling with their funding at this point in time. So, any questions? Yeah.
How would you make a public charter school appealing to your Caucasian audience?
So for one thing that I would want to do is, you know, in some of these areas where they have the school fairs, you know, set up a booth, you know, show them that, okay, with these private school areas or the Montessori schools, that we're just as highly qualified to teach your kids as any other school would be. Especially if we have schools that are tier 1 that are sitting in these areas, there's no reason why your child can't come and still learn that same curriculum. Anyone else?
So I was thinking, you touched on the rise of public charter schools, but I also remember when there were DC public schools, a lot of DC public schools were shut down, are still getting shut down recently because of students not really entering those schools, and those schools were good schools at one time.
Right.
So my question is, when we talked about the demographic piece of students, black to white to Hispanics, and where you had the Montessori schools and private schools, my question is in regards to, can you pull your data chart back up?
Which one?
In regards to the income, yeah, that one.
Okay.
So I was looking at that, and I see where you said you had the dark blue, the like more Ward 7 and 8.
Right.
There are great schools over there. And then you said the median income was, the lowest income was 0 to 71,000.
Right.
So my question is, does that take into consideration the gentrification that has happened in that area? And is that income a part of income that's not black and Hispanic?
Okay, so when you really think about it, as far as like with that type of income, those are families that you know have already been there for like 10 plus years or 20 plus years. Now, as you can see now, you know, you're starting to see more affluent families start to come over to that area now because they're trying to regentrify it.
Right.
Now, whether or not if they still send their kids to those type of schools since they're living in that area is up to the family. But to answer your question, I mean, I wouldn't say that it would change anything as far as like how they feel about still bringing their kid there to that school.
To that school. And so then my next question in regards again to these slides is, how do we promote ourselves, public, not public schools, but charter schools, promote ourselves in Ward 7 and 8, Ward 6, so that other races outside of black and Hispanic or brown and black students, white students,
Right.
are, you know, happy to come to a charter school.
Right.
You know, because I think it's a deeper piece to that when you think about race and the things you see on TV, the things you hear on social media. Like, what can we do if, you know, you want to promote us having a melting pot in the school?
Well, that's what I was saying as far as, you know, when they have these type of fairs that allow schools to come in and show you who they are, or any type of event that may happen on that side of town. I know with previous experience that I had with the school that I came from before, we actually set up a booth and we just have people giving out flyers and letting them know, like, hey, this is our school that's coming, you know, we would be more than glad to have your child here. These are our statistics as far as, you know, who we are as a school. Have some, like, maybe have a couple of teachers that are from the school, you know, let them know that, okay, I teach there, you know, and I love teaching children no matter who they are, you know what I mean? It's just all about where you position yourself in that area, and also social media, all of that stuff is a big factor as far as getting yourself out there. You want to make yourself known, you know, to everyone. If it was nothing but you just put up a Facebook page or Instagram page and you just advertise just the entire time, and you let the whole DMV area know, like, no matter what ward, what area you live in, like, you can come to our school and still get the same type of education that you would get anywhere else. Yeah. No? Okay, well, I appreciate it, and, thank you.